What's up, guys? Teddy Cornwell here. Welcome to the Underdog Talk. And there is just something about the Underdog. But I mean, we have a fucking beast on the Underdog Talk. I mean, the one and only Mr. Brandon Harding. What's up, big fella? How you doing today, man?
What's going on, guys? I appreciate you having me on, man. Like, I've been seeing the podcast grow, I've been seeing things happening. And to be honest, I love the whole name of the podcast, The Underdog. And you can always, like, obviously, it's like not an underdog podcast. It's like it's growing, it's doing great things, but like you can always get behind the dream, right? You can always get behind like the goal and people's like, the underdog mentality. And I feel like that's why this podcast is called what it's called, because it's just full of people that have that underdog mentality. They're never going to feel enough. They're always chasing for more. They're always like trying to build something out of their lives and stuff. And that's why I love the name of the podcast. And that's why I thought, I've seen a few episodes. I'd love to come on myself and have a chat. And you seem like a pretty nice guy, man. So I'm here.
And there is
What's up?
just something about the Underdog, Brandon, and they really are the hungriest. And before we even get into this, podcast, I just gotta say to everyone, I mean, Brandon's one of the guys when I started 4 years ago, 3 years ago, into really this wonderful community. I mean, I was watching him, man, his posing videos, and even when I just did my bodybuilding show, I mean, 2 days before, I found myself in the goddamn studio looking at Brandon Harding's videos on the floor while I'm trying to do my thing. I'm like, oh, all right, I see that now. The last Brad, so I love what you do, man. You truly are
Thank you, man.
great, man. And
Thank you.
I'm so excited to see you rock on that stage, which we'll talk about. And, Brandon, for you guys don't know, just got back into the gym 14 days, man. And I mean, I know that's long, Brandon.
Grueling.
And for us gym goers, 14 days, man, it feels like fucking 2 years. But
It
welcome
was an
back.
eternity. It was an eternity. For those that don't know, I just had a hair transplant surgery. So like I had a, receding hairline for obvious, hereditary reasons, anabolic exposure, all these things. But I like my hair and I want to keep it. So I had a surgery and you have to take 14 days off. And but not realizing that the actual hardest part about the whole thing wasn't the surgery. It was just having 14 days off the gym. And I actually just got back from my first leg day and all my face is all red. My body is like, my legs were shaking walking through the door, but I feel like myself again. And it's great.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it's really good.
Man, welcome back. I know you killed that leg day, and I want to take it back. I want to take it a little back before even these 14 days. I want to take it back to when you were a young boy, and what interests me is that underdog, that drive. You wanted it, and Brandon, you've always talked about how you were obsessed, kind of, with the idea of you said being able to fill out your school shirt, and for us
That was it. Yeah.
in the States, we don't necessarily have school shirts. But you've always been interested in muscular development, and you began working towards getting those insecurities away and developing your dream physique, which, I mean, I don't know anyone with a better physique than you. But now,
Thank you, man.
Brandon,
Thank you.
why the gym for you, sir? Why was it that haven for you? And then why do you think fitness is such a good thing for helping with that confidence, with that self-esteem?
So I can reference back to the whole like filling out the school shirt mentality because that was my first almost like dose of someone told me that I couldn't do something. So I was 15 years old and I boxed from the age of like 12 to 15 and I did some weightlifting as part of the boxing training, but I always found myself just being more interested in that than the actual boxing itself. And I've always been a sporty guy. I sprinted, I played basketball, like all these things as a kid. I did taekwondo for 4 years, and when it came to like the gym, I felt like I had like a bit of a head start when it came to like mind to muscle connection, being able to just like feel what was happening and stuff. It was almost like a head start at 16 because I wasn't allowed to join the gym until I was 16. But the school shirt mentality thing came from my math teacher. I had this school shirt on and I saw guys in sixth form, which is basically like when you finish high school. It's the same as going to college. It's just in the same school. And there was a guy called Jack and he had this shirt and he filled it out so nicely. And I would say to my math teacher, one day, I'm going to fill out this baggy school shirt. I'm going to look like Jack. And my teacher would literally say, Brandon, your arms are so small. That's never going to happen. Like, that's literally not going to happen. And the first time someone told me I couldn't do something, it almost lit a fire in my heart. And my first couple sessions, my first like year or so in the gym being 16, I would think back to that time when someone told me that I couldn't have something that I wanted. And always, almost like through leaving school, and my social life becoming then the gym, and I met like-minded people, and my best friends became the people that I went to the gym with, and we would always have competitions of who could shrug the most, who could squat the most, just stupid stuff that you wouldn't do now because I mean you just get injured, but you're so young and stupid, you can do whatever you want to, and you could probably run and bounce off a wall and you'd be fine, to be honest. But we just did crazy things, and it just got me so in love with it. And I didn't have like the best experience when I was in middle school and first school. I didn't really have many friends until high school, and it gave me this like almost like this circle of friends in the gym that I'd like never experienced in my life. And I just got so addicted and I loved it and stuff. And then it was always as well, like I feel like with the sports, because you asked the question, you said like, what's the drive for it, like why do I even go? Because on top of obviously it was a place that my friends were and I fell in love with it because of that, it was always as well like I found myself and I found my meaning, or like I realized more of why I was going after many years of bodybuilding, I feel like. Because when I was 18, I used to work in a gym behind a desk. And when it would close at 10:30, I would be able to train then after my shift. And I would literally put Kai Green on the speakers and just bodybuilding Machiavelli motivation videos, the silence, just speeches, just it was me alone. And I would even turn the lights off. There was like dim lights and I was in darkness in my emotions, listening to these speeches. And I would be on the leg press, I'd be on the hack squat. Sometimes I would actually cry because of how much I fucking loved it and how much I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and how much it was an ability for me to just like take out and really heal from all like emotions from being a kid, anger issues, ADHD, different things that I suffered with when I was a younger guy, in middle school and first school, like around the age of like 10 to 14. And it just allowed me to just like get out all these emotions and like reset as a human being and just like really focus on what I wanted to do. And it was that journey and falling in love with the gym that allowed me to realize who I am as a person and what means the most to me. And it was the gym that gave that to me. So I just automatically fell in love with it.
And I mean, I found myself in the same spot yesterday. I had Branch Warren, who was on the show, one of my favorites. Hardest work in the gym, Machiavelli motivation.
Yeah.
And that is the most motivational. Just hearing those bodybuilders do it harder. You push yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm feeling big, man. I'm putting up, shoot, maybe a little more than normal, but man, I love that. And the gym is that safe haven. You can let go. It's the one place where
you can
just let go. And obviously, you've talked about physical change doesn't happen overnight, and that is so important because we often see these influencers or bodybuilders, and we're like, we want to be them, and we want to do it the next day. We want to be them like the next day. But what are the key things to remember when one does start that fitness journey like we all once did, and doesn't see those results immediately in days, months, maybe even years at that?
I feel like the gym has a great way of teaching people the reality of life. It teaches people that if you want anything, it's not going to happen overnight. Some people aren't as lucky as everyone else. Some people aren't lucky to be born into family of riches. Some people aren't lucky enough to have just a perfect voice to sing or a perfect face to model and different things. So life is relatively easy compared to people that are substandard or don't have these things. And it's a great way to show you that if you want something, it's going to take years and pain and sweat and graft to happen. And it's nice because if you find that within the gym, and if you come to the realization that the physique you want is going to take many, many, many years, then outside world, entrepreneurial goals, they almost seem easy because what you're doing to yourself in the gym is so much harder. Like you push yourself and you actually feel physical pain to be able to squat with 3 plates, 4 plates, 5 plates, 6 plates, and go into that place mentally where you think it's a good idea to squat with this weight when you might not be able to stand up and stuff. When it comes to just doing mundane tasks around the house and different things that you otherwise might be too bored or lazy to do, you just get into the mentality of just doing the small things because you're so much more focused and motivated to do anything in general life because of what you're forcing yourself to do. And I feel like one piece of advice that I would give people that are obviously obsessing about the progress and always looking at the scale of the numbers of the physique and they're taking all these pictures, I feel like sometimes you just got to let go. You just got to stop giving so much of a shit about what you look like every day. You need to just like enjoy what is happening, be happy in general life, like to the extent that like almost be grateful that you even have a gym to go to, and think about the small things. Like think about, you know, the fact that you can go home and your fridge has food in it and you can eat, and that's great. You can actually chase your dreams and follow your goals and all these things you want to do. And when you start thinking about like how unimportant it really is, how big your biceps are at that day, or you know, the people like that are so insecure that they have to do push-ups before they put their shirt on to go out to the club because they want to look so big for their friends. But when you start bodybuilding for yourself and not other people, it takes away this pressure and this ability to think that you have to make all this progress. And social media makes it so much worse because people feel like they have to look a certain way, so they end up photoshopping all of their pictures because otherwise they're not going to grow, or they're not going to get the affirmation that they want, when actually no one gives a shit as much as you think they do. People are just happy that you're showing up. People are happy that you're happy, that you're posting, that you're like, that you're doing something with your life, no matter how you look. People just need to chill out a little bit and just be like, you know what? I had a great workout today. I hit all my meals, and today I progressed. And tomorrow and the next day and after a year and 2 years, I'm going to get closer to where I want to be. And after 4 or 5 years, you've built a good upper body, and 6 or 7 years, you got a good lower body. And then fuck it, you might get your pro card one day. And that's what happened with me. I was bodybuilding for 8, 9 years. I eventually stopped caring about how big my arm size was. I couldn't tell you how big my quads are. I used to measure when I was 16, but now I don't. And eventually you just have the thing you want, and you realize things do take time, but it's okay. Because like the saying goes, you know, anything worth having doesn't happen overnight. That's the most like cliche used saying in the world, but it's the only one that's used so much because it's the only one that's so fucking true.
Brandon, you got me fucking ready to run through a wall, man. Like it's so true, and I'm so glad you just said all that because you know, as me as a regular person looking up to you and the other fitness influencers, bodybuilders, hearing that you know we don't necessarily need to compare ourselves, and that it's just about beating ourselves the day before, being better than the day before, man. I
Yeah,
fucking
that's
love it.
literally it.
And then the next subject. Congratulations on that. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, the newest Ifbb Pro, Brandon Harding. I
It,
love
it
it, man.
it hasn't really sunk in, to be honest, and it's weird to say that considering it did happen like I think about 3 months ago now. But I feel like it won't feel real until I'm backstage with the pros, having done the prep, and I'm about to step on a pro stage, and I know I'm going to be there thinking like, what the fuck is happening? Because I know you do your off season alone with your loved one and your friends. You do your prep alone, watching the same videos and listening to the same music and hitting the same workouts that you hit when you was an amateur. So what's the difference when you're a pro? There is no difference. You're just as hungry. You're even more hungry almost. It's as if you just started, because it's as if your journey reset and you are back at day one, because amateur day one and pro day one are the same thing. You're now in a different league against different people. I don't have to regionally qualify anymore because I just step on a pro stage. And it's not going to feel like I'm an actual pro, even though I get to walk past the bloody pro card every day before I go to the gym. It's amazing. But I feel like it will truly, sorry about
No, you're
that. I
good.
feel like it will truly sink in when I'm backstage and I'm seeing, I don't know, Wesley Visser or, you know, Terrence or whoever decides to do a qualification for the Olympia. Then it will feel real.
And you know it is funny because Alex Toplin, who's also a classic physique, was telling me, he goes, "Yeah, I heard my name called and I walked to the back because I didn't even think it was real, you know." And then they called me back. I was like, "Oh shoot!" It is such a crazy feeling. And I mean, what was your actual emotion when you were on stage and you did actually hear it? What was that emotion? Because all that hard work, all that sweat, blood, and tears that you put in.
Yeah. If I
What?
start honestly, if I start to talk about it, I'll probably get emotional, to be honest, because of how much it really did mean. I can narrate the day, to be honest, like as if it was yesterday, because it was one of the most, if not one of the, yeah, literally one of the most important days in my entire life, because I've never tried so hard for something. And I said it at the end of my show day vlog, that I've never tried so hard for something in my entire life. And that stands. That is so true. And there was the things that I didn't put in the YouTube video, the things that I didn't speak about was when the day was unraveling. When I woke up in the morning and I took my check-in pictures for Callum that I sent to him that I didn't even post, honestly, because I was just so blown away by them. And I saw these pictures and I thought for the first time in my life, we could actually get a pro card today. I was so proud and happy of the condition, the fullness, all these things. I was like, how have we done this? I just couldn't believe it. And then I just wanted it to maintain through the whole day. And we had a bit of food. I had to just fully take my head out of it and just allow my coach to do the thing that he knows how to do best. Because I'd done things different ways in the past, but he said, Brandon, just listen to me today. And I promise all things will happen in the right way. Because it's so hard when you're a control freak and you want to do everything yourself to make sure, because you think you know best, but sometimes you just don't. So we took the things we had to take, right amount of like diazide or different things and the right amount of food, because sometimes I like to step on stage completely fasted because I want to be as tight and vacuum as deep as I can. But I had a little bit of food because the other things I was taking needed me to be able to fill out a little bit too. And it all intertwined so great. And I got there and I was happy with my tan. And because of the fact that so many things were going right, it made me so emotional in the day because I was like, there's no way that things can feel this right and feel this good and for it to not happen. I almost felt like I could taste it. And imagine, when you're so close to having something and it gets ripped away, I was like, I don't think I'll be able to deal emotionally with feeling like everything has gone this perfect again at another show, because I don't feel like things could go so perfect. And when I went on for prejudging, it was I felt like I became alive on the stage. I felt like I took like a Limitless pill, like the film Limitless. I woke up and the judges, I was smiling, I was having a great time, and I felt everything was clicking. I was remembering. I did so many posing sessions with a Canadian posing coach called Hamlet, and he's a pro. He's incredible. And I'd never had a posing coach before in my life. I just learned everything from YouTube videos. But this was the first time that I really got drilled. We would do 2 hours of posing, just crazy. And I knew at that time when I was on stage that it was necessary to do that because I felt like a pro. I felt like I could pose like one, and it was great. So prejudging was finished. We got first call outs, won the class, and then I was sat there and my girlfriend called me. And as soon as I saw her face, I had to put the phone down straight away because I was going to cry, because I was like, I couldn't open up. I closed myself off from the world. I became almost like a stone. I became emotionless because as the day progressed, my emotions went away and I felt like I only had one task, and that was to get the pro card. And if I let someone in, like my girlfriend or my mom or anyone family, I would break down because of how much I wanted it. And then we went on for the next call outs for the finals. Yeah. And my coach, just before I went on, he looked at me and he was like nodding. He was like, just fucking do the thing. And we did it. We stepped off, and straight away they called who won because they wrote down on their scorecards the judges. And then we stepped off, and we were all stood on the steps waiting for our names to be called out because there was 3 people, because there was 3 classes. And I felt like all of our hearts were in our mouths, and anyone that didn't get it was just like broken. And I wanted it. I could have bursted into tears right then. And as soon as they called the name, I just let it out. I couldn't stop crying. I actually cried for like 2 days straight. It was fucking crazy. And it's because I told myself at the beginning of prep, I'm not going to get emotional this entire prep. I'm not going to allow one tear to fall from my eyes the entire prep. And I didn't. It literally didn't happen because I said, when I get the thing that I've set out to get, I will allow myself to feel what's been building up. And then it happened, and then it all came out. And I realized in that moment how much it all really meant to me.
Wow. I mean, you got me a little emotional over here, man. I mean, I think they say trust the process and things will work out. And hard work always does pay off, I mean, it's funny because I watch your posing videos. Now, I think you're a top tier posing coach. But you know what I always found interesting is that even if we're elite, we need that coach. We need someone who's been there and done what we've done to give us advice we may not be able to see. which I think that coaching, that posing step, that posing coach just really amplified. Okay, this is a
Every
peak Brandon Hart.
every professional and everything has a different standard. Like, my standard of posing would be higher than someone that hasn't had a posing coach, and the posing coach's standards are higher than mine. And then, someone that's been being a posing coach for 20 years would be higher than that person's. Like, everyone has different standards, right? And everyone has different knowledge, and everyone can continuously always learn until, I don't know, you're a 60-year-old master and you've been doing it for 30, 40 years. Then you could say you can't really learn much more, but you can always learn. There are, for example, there are pros that have been, bodybuilders, like Antoine Vaillant, for example. He is also coached by Hamlet, who did my posing, and Antoine has been posing in whatever for how many years. He actually like almost dances sometimes on stage. He shakes his legs and he like pulls all these crazy faces, and even he, as confident as he is, has a posing coach. You just to think you should do it alone, or everything. You need to change your mentality, because you are obnoxious, and I promise you don't know as much as you think you do.
Yeah, and I mean, if we look at the open Mr. O, we have Flex Wheeler on. Who does Flex Wheeler coach? Oh, Andrew Jack. Oh, yeah. I mean, all these guys have coaches because it's needed. We often look at ourselves and think different things. We need that outside source. Now, Brandon, I'm very interested in this question. What is next for you, sir? Where do you see and when do you see yourself stepping on that stage again to grace us, sir?
So, me and my coach thought it would be smart to have a full calendar year off. So, we competed in like 3 months ago. So we thought that having that whole year off, meaning starting prep at the back end of next year, so September, October, November, whenever we feel like we've had, and it's also broken down into segments and time. So it's not a matter of like, just willy-nilly just picking a time to, it's all regimented throughout the year. So there will be enough time to become, clinically healthy enough to be able to do another blast, which I'll be getting my bloods done in another week, and then starting the blast the week after if my bloods are okay. Then you need enough time to do that blast. Then we're going to come off, become healthier again, and then run a second off-season blast, and then become healthier again, and then compete. So you need the whole year for that to happen, because otherwise you don't have time to like actually recover, to prioritize longevity and actually be healthy. That's why it's broken up into a full calendar year. And then in November, we'll start prep. And then at the beginning of 2024. So another reason, I'm not really like a spiritual guy or anything, but sometimes things are like too coincidental to almost not think that there's something really cool happening that you really can't explain. So my lucky number is 27, and it's always been that way. And at the beginning of my prep, I was outside about to get, for the regional qualifier, my number. And I said, before I got the number, if it's a 2 or a 7, we're on the right path. And in the first number that I got, there was a 2. And then when I got the pro card, there was a 7. And for that, I got the tattoo on my arm, which right here.
Oh, I love it.
So it's a 2 and a 7, but in like one thing. So it's like a cooler. Anyway, so that's the case. And then in 2024, when I do my pro debut, I will also be 27.
I knew right away where that was going. It is destiny. I think it's
yeah, my birthday's in January, and it'll be my birthday like a month before I compete. So being 27, doesn't mean I'm gonna do well or qualify for the Olympia straight away, but I know that I will be the best I've ever been.
And age is nothing but a number at this point. I mean, we're having Kamal on tomorrow, and Kamal is 54 years old, and he's my bet to win the 212 Mr. Olympia. So
Wow.
there is no age, and obviously there's so many mature. I think, and Martin Fitzwater made a point on last episode where he goes, the age is actually beneficial, because you've been able to see it. You've been able to know what works for you. You've been able to get that muscle structure, the muscle maturity. I think being an older bodybuilder is actually key. And William Bonac is getting up there in age, and people have him second, first. I mean, it's nothing in the sport. And people are often like, well, 28 now. Nick Walker's 27. It's going to be, I mean, I think I'm really excited for you now. Speaking of the classic physique, which you will be in, Mr. Olympia.
I wanted to mention really quickly. You know who told me that you actually make the most progress between the ages of 25 and 32. So in those 7 years, when you've got the muscle maturity and you've got the ability to you've got the knowledge, you'll actually progress the most in those 7 years than any years. It was Lee Priest that told me that.
Oh, we had him on. He's a, I mean,
he's a character. He's a funny guy.
The blonde, what? I forgot what I said. What his nickname is. He's a good dude. Me and I don't know if I should be saying this, but Lee was. He'll probably hate me. Fuck it. Lee, when I was texting him 4 months ago, I was like, Lee, would you like to come on the podcast, man? We're the top fitness podcast in the world. He's like, I've never heard of you, man. I've never heard of you. Like, fuck off. And then I was like,
literally, yeah. You can imagine it.
And I was like, Lee, like a month later, I was like, all right, Lee, like, how do we get you on the show? He's like, oh man, you're sucking me off now. Fuck it, I'll come on. And just the nicest, fucking humblest dude. And I mean, best biceps of all time. I mean, he's a class act. Now,
Yeah.
Brandon, who do you see being the big names or the name to beat in this year's classic physique, Mr. O?
I think eventually, whether it's this year or next year, that Eurus will win. Eurus will win. Because I've seen comparison pictures, like I've done my own research and I've seen various different shots and stuff. And I genuinely think that, for example, if you were to look at Chris Bumstead's quads and then look at Eurus's quads, Eurus has better quads. He has better lines. He has generally like a more pleasing leg. His calves are double the size of Chris. His everything about the lines, they just poke out more, they pop more, they're more accentuated. I wouldn't say they're more classic, because classic, you fit into a certain look, right? You have to be perfectly balanced. It all has to make sense, which comes with maturity. And obviously he's still very young still. But eventually, I think that Eurus is the one, because he's young, he's got a great face, he's got a great smile, and to be classic, you have to have that almost like, I feel like that package that you're an underdog in a way. You're the one that's coming up. You're super kind, because you have to be the face of bodybuilding too. If you're going to be Mr. Olympia, you have to not be an asshole, I would say anyway. I mean, Phil Heath, obviously, his whole thesis, his whole mentality was like, I'm the gift, I'm the shit, all that sort of thing. But then now Big Rami's got it, and Big Ramy is so humble and so kind and stuff. You're almost happier for him because he's so kind. So I think gone are the days of ego.
Yes.
And being do you think Flex Lewis, who won 7 times, 212, you think he was ever a dick?
Nope.
He was super humble. And now Mr. Olympia, Chris, is super humble. Me and the guy have been snowboarding together and spent like a week together in Ottawa. And he is the most humble, nicest guy in the world. Like, it was honestly, there was a situation that happened at the beginning of, the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, before COVID hit, blah, blah, blah. I was in Canada for a prolonged period of time based on circumstances that I was on the way to America. Didn't happen the way I wanted to. And then I realized that through trying to go to America, I was like, I don't want to go home yet. So I stayed in Canada. And then me and Chris started talking. We were like, let's plan a trip. So we did that. It was a whole thing. And knowing that Mr. Olympia was as kind as he is, it just gave me a perspective of, there is no one in this world in bodybuilding, whether you're new, whether you think you're experienced, whether you're like kind of this old school bodybuilder who has his notepad in his gym and he feels like he knows everything. He's got this ego, just a negative mentality, who has all this. They say they don't have ego, but they secretly do, because they're just like trying, I don't know, maybe they're so insecure they have to put on this act as if they are so big and tough in the gym, when they're just so scared to smile. If someone that is the king can be nice, then so can you.
And I have to agree on that. Derek Lunsford, 212 champion last year, humble, nice, sent me a free shirt, put me on his story. And I was like, Derek, you just won. You're a champion. You're an Olympian champion. You're talking to a nobody like me. I mean, and that's where it's almost like this is the best community.
Well, that's the difference. That's the difference. Like, you know, you would say like a nobody like me, but I could say a nobody like me because just because I have like some followers on Instagram and some subscribers on YouTube and all these things, like, and I have a pro card and whatever, that it makes me more of a person than someone else. Like, there are people that are so much more above me, they would make me feel just not even existing on the planet. Like, there are people that are so relevant in society and such, like, you look at someone like Elon Musk or someone that's forward thinking, someone that's actually done something for society that's changed the world, and their relevancy compared to what someone that has fucking Instagram followers. You think you're relevant because you got some people that know your name. That's not the way the world works. You are the same and just as important as a dog or a cat. You're just a life on the earth, and you're eventually going to live and die, and whatever you choose to do is completely up to you. The best thing you can do is just leave a positive message. The best thing you can do is inspire people to also be happy and to do something that makes their existence bearable on the planet, so they feel that they're progressing, they feel like they have purpose and all these things. That's the best thing you can do as a person. If you're here to just cause shit, to just cause drama, to cause negativity, what's the point? I just can't agree with it.
I agree. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human. There's only one human race, and that's us. And I mean, you, sir, have been a positive influence on so many. I just have to tell you that to your face while I have the chance, because, you know, this show, I mean, man, you truly are. I even got emotional talking to you, Brandon, because, and I normally don't do that. And just because you have done so much for this community, man. And I've mentioned it a million times. Me just watching your posing videos, man, and me just being a little more confident going on stage because I had watched Brandon Harding's posing videos, simple things like that, man. So thank you, sir. I just have to say that. Now, Brandon, I want to get you out of here. I know you're a busy ass guy.
But, oh, no, man. Honestly, I got time. I could talk all night. I've been to the gym.
Hey,
I'm happy.
You've been to the gym. Day's
That's
done.
Good.
That's good. Now, you have really seen it all in the fitness industry, seeing it in the gym, seeing it in the bodybuilding world. What is your biggest tip for someone who is looking to start their fitness journey like you once were, sir?
You mean like documenting the journey, or just starting in fitness in general? Like, you mean like social media or bodybuilding?
Starting in fitness in general.
Starting in fitness in general. So I would say doing it for the right reasons. So you can find a physique online that you want to be like, and I'll answer both questions at once. You can find someone that has a YouTube channel that you think you want to own, that you think you want the same thing, right? It looks such a good idea to be a YouTuber, right? Oh my God, like, you got the sponsorships, you get the money. It looks seemingly like you do very little work, because all you do is go to the gym and post some pictures and you got so much money. Oh, wow, what a great life, right? But comes the reality of it is that unless you find your reason why, not because it looks like a good idea, unless you find the reason you actually want it in your heart, I promise you will give up. You will not get far. You won't build the channel, because when it comes to staying awake until 4 a.m, editing your videos, you'll fall asleep. You'll give up because there's no desperation. You're not fucking hungry. You don't need it, because you think you want it, but you don't need it, right? So you're just going to fall asleep. You're going to give up. You're going to put your laptop down. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And then you're just never going to grow as fast as all the other people growing. And then you'll be behind, and then you'll be not what you want. And it's the same with bodybuilding. Unless you really want it and you have your own deep passion behind it, like, you're not going to squat the weight you need to squat. You're not going to do the extra reps, the extra sets. You're not going to stay awake maybe until 3 a.m. and have that last meal after the work you've done, because you're just going to go to bed or have a bowl of cereal, and that you'll call it a day. When someone else will actually, that really wants to do it, will stay awake and they'll make their oats and they'll put their protein powder in it. They'll have their fruit, they'll have whatever. They'll do it right. And you can only do these things when you find your reason why. And it's not enough to just feel like it. It's not enough to go on your phone and see all these things that people have and think, oh, I think I want that. Because I promise you have no idea what these people did to get it. You have no idea, me personally, how many hours, like thousands, tens of thousands of hours editing YouTube videos to build the channel. And now it's like, oh, he just posted a video and he got a sponsorship and it makes this money. I'm like, have you just forgot about the past? Like, oh yeah, you can post an Instagram picture. I grinded so hard. I actually got fired from my job when I was 17 because I was on Instagram too much trying to grow my Instagram. I got fired because I knew what I wanted to do straight away. I was obsessed about my YouTube videos. So I was 18 and I was on my phone all the time at the gym. I got fired from the gym. I got fired from literally 5 different jobs that I had in my life because I was so obsessed with doing social media, with doing this. And I lost those opportunities because I found what I was meant to do and I ran with it. And that's the only way it's ever going to work, by loving it and finding your purpose and sacking off everything else for it. It's the mentality of having no plan B, right? I never went to university because I never wanted to, because I never wanted to work for anyone else other than myself. And I knew that if I wasted those 2 years going to university, I would be 2 years behind where I want to actually be with the things that I would do after university anyway. So that's the only advice I have. You have to find your reason, not someone else's reason.
Wow. I mean, how bad do you want it, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, how bad do you want it? And Brandon, it's been probably one of the biggest honors and privileges I've had on my own podcast talking to you. But before we go, sir, is there anything you want to plug? Where can we find the legendary Hardbody? What is your supplement code to use? What is your social media handles? The floor is all yours, sir.
Well, thank you, man. I don't know. I don't want to talk about myself like anymore. I feel like I've said enough.
What is the code we can use, Brandon?
Code Hardbody. If you type in Hardbody anywhere or search Hardbody in Google, you'll find everything you need to find. I mean, the logo is behind me. I have a lifting equipment company. My Instagram is Brandon Hardbody, and that's really it. My name's Brandon Harding on YouTube. That's it.
Short, simple. First person to buy a huge supplements product using Brandon's code, send me a screenshot and I'll get you something special out there. I mean, please go check out Brandon's YouTube. I mean, when I say it is top tier, it is top tier. You don't hear me rave about much people on these shows, but I mean, it is top tier. The posing has helped me. Just the motivational, your attitude, the humble attitude.
Thank you, man.
So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please go check out Brandon's content. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Until next time, guys, Underdog out.